And my experiences in Greece, especially, I went to Greece and Lebanon for a humanitarian trip. And in Lebanon, I helped teach English to Syrian refugee children and Iraqi refugee children that moved to Lebanon, and their parents want them to learn English so that way it makes life a little easier for them and they're a little more accepted. In Greece, I ended up working with homeless people, drug addicts, and people who were both of those. So, all these pictures that you see, you're not going to see any of the drug use or the homeless people or the children per se. There are a couple that I was able to show because their parents allowed it. But a lot of the drugs and homeless people, we were not allowed to take pictures with or of just for their safety. It's kind of a hairy situation with them sometimes there are some people who want them dead and there are other people who are looking for them and they don't want to be found. So, with that disclaimer, in Greece, there are city lots, like empty lots where businesses can build or whatnot, and people will go there at night and they will sell, and they will even make drug and drug paraphernalia. So we would go there with our contact, Elias, and his family, and we would fill up a van with giant vats of cider tea stuff. I don't actually remember what it's called. I can't speak Greek to save my life. And like some kind of food. So sometimes we would have sandwiches, sometimes we would have croissant things. And so we would pack up the van in the middle of the night and go to these lots. And the first time that we got there, I walked up to the lot and I didn't know what to expect, but I think it was just mind-blowing the amount of people that were there. There were men, women, young, old. There were people with their kids there. And it was anywhere from between 20 to probably close to 80 or 90. It was a lot of people for a small space. And you would see in one corner is a tent where they're making heroin to sell, they're refining it. In another corner of the space, you would see people using a jerry-rigged propane tank and glass tubes to make meth pipes. And there's just a heaviness, for lack of a better term, just emotionally draining, just mentally draining being there. And so we would end up handing out the cider and the food, and we would sit there and just hang out with them and talk with them. I would always feel bad because a lot of them would ask for money or whatever, and I would have to turn them down and decline it because, yes, I want to help them, but at the same time, I didn't have anything else to give other than my time. And also, if you're working with these people, you have to keep in mind that they can be the best people in the entire world in a bad situation, but you also have to be kind of street smart about it. You can't give people money straight on the street. If they're asking for money for food or whatever, ask them, what can I buy you? And if they turn it down, then you know that they're using the money for something else. Because if they're in that much need, they will tell you what kind of food they need or what kind of diapers they need, etc. So that's my little tidbit of information if you want to help somebody on the street. But there was one man who changed my perspective completely about the homeless community, about the drug addict community. And I gave him his cider and I sat down next to him and I said, "Hey, can I talk to you a little bit?" And he just looked at me, he goes, "Why? Like, what? Are you going to tell me, like, I'm a bad person or whatever?" And it just shocked me. I was like, "No, why would I tell you that?" He goes, "Well, because I'm a drug addict, I'm homeless, I'm gay, like, I have all these things wrong with me. Why would you care? Why are you here sitting with me? Like, you just want to make fun of me too, like everybody else does." And it just shocked me of how devastated this man was and how much hurt he had faced from other people in his family and his community. And I think sometimes when we think of homeless or drug addicts, we think of these really dumb people who have nothing left in life except for this lifestyle, and they're not worth much. And it's not true. This man went to college. This man was highly educated. He was a great artist. He showed me some of his work. And I asked him, I was like, I want to ask you a question. How did you end up here? And this is what changed my perspective to, yes, they're homeless. Yes, they're addicted. But they're also humans and they have a story. And a lot of us like to take each other at face value, even if we don't judge per se. We take each other at face value and we don't think about the story behind that face. And long story short, he was living with his family. He ended up getting a male partner and his family kicked him out. So he moved in with the partner. And about 3 years later, his partner broke up with him and kicked him out. So then he became homeless. And when he became homeless, he turned to drugs because he was hurting that badly emotionally. He was hurting that badly, like mentally, that he just couldn't deal with it anymore. He said, out of all the stuff that has happened in my life, I cracked. And that's why I turned to the drugs. That's why I turned here. And I was like, well, then what keeps you from getting rid of it? Like, why can't you let it go? And he said, why should I? I'm not worth it. My entire life I was told I wasn't worth it because I like men, or I wasn't worth it because I wasn't a well-known artist and I didn't sell stuff for millions. I'm just not worth it. Which is why I don't understand why you're sitting here talking to me. And that broke my heart to know how much pain and how much suffering these people go through. And here we are passing them on the streets and walking in the other direction or crossing the street so we don't have to deal with them. And here we are, we're hurting them just as much as the people who help them get in that situation. So I guess my plea to everybody is, if you have a chance to do some kind of humanitarian effort, take that chance. Because even if you can't give money or food or anything like that, you can give time and you can encourage people.